Hey everybody, Jared Miller here alongside Jimmie Searfoss and Oliver Hayes from Sco Buff Sports. Championship tonight, not just any championship, the last championship of the Pac-12 between the number 3 Colorado Buffaloes and the number 4 Oregon Ducks. What are you guys expecting to see tonight?
Hopefully some more points out of the Buffs. Goodness gracious, last night it was kind of brutal to watch offensively, but the defense did stand tough. It's going to be tough because I don't think they've faced a team that is offensively as capable as Oregon is with some of their big-time guys like Shellstad and Dante. So it's going to be a big-time big-time competition for them tonight.
Yeah, no, I think, the Buffs definitely need to step it up offensively. We haven't really seen a stretch of, or at least a stretch of 2 games like this where the Buffs haven't been able to score the ball like they have all season. But on the flip side of that, defensively, yesterday was the least amount of points that they've allowed all season, the most amount of turnovers they've forced all season. So, and across the first 2 games, they've been the best defensive team in the tournament as far as points scored. So, if they can do that and hold Oregon under 60. Oregon was the last team that Colorado faced that was able to score over 60, scoring 75 in that loss in Eugene. It would be great to see the offense get going, but honestly, I think the defense has won them a lot of these games down the stretch, and that's where they get their worth today.
All right, yeah. Jimmy, you alluded to it. It's going to be a tough matchup. I mean, yesterday against Arizona, Nafali Dante and Jackson Shellstad, they kind of took over, especially in that second half. But post-game, after the Colorado game, post-game presser with head coach Tad Boyle, he said KJ Simpson's probably the best defensive point guard in the Pac-12. What's KJ going to have to do to try to slow down Shellstad?
Well, Shellstad had himself a game last time Colorado played Oregon. He was kind of basically that whole Oregon offense there for a minute when they played in Eugene, and Colorado left that building with a victory. KJ has seen him twice now. Did he play in the first Oregon? He's seen him twice now, so it's going to be basically pretty much a straight-up test of skill here, and I think I'm taking KJ in this one. He's defended everyone else just as well. He's faced some good guards this tournament, and I think I'm taking KJ in that battle.
Yeah, I feel like it would be hard not to go with KJ, especially with how he's been playing and the pride that he takes on the defensive end, especially this year. We mentioned having a chip on his shoulder, only being an honorable mention on the all-defensive team for the Pac-12 this year. With that, I think the biggest thing for him will be making sure that Shellstad doesn't get a string of buckets in a row. Against Colorado, he started the game off with 7 straight points and an assist, and that really started off his night and really got him going against Colorado first time around. And yesterday, honestly, Shellstad didn't start off too well against the Wildcats. I think he started 2 of 9, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think he got a layup and then he got a 3-pointer. And all of a sudden, the gates opened, and Shellstad was back to himself, hitting big shots. Got tough threes, a fadeaway for I think his 11th point in a row at that point. To really I don't know, it wasn't the dagger at that time because Arizona still had a little juice in them, but it was really ultimately the difference maker. But to go a step further, Jermaine Cousinard was great in that game yesterday, especially from the mid-range area with that float game. And KJ Simpson will have his hands full with Shellstad, but I'm excited to see, will it be Hadley, will it be Luke O'Brien, who will step up and guard Cousinard, especially with, the aforementioned Dante probably coming up and setting a lot of pick and rolls because that's what was working for them yesterday.
Yeah, we did see Nafali Dante take a huge spill, though, early in the game against the Wildcats. He left the game for probably a good 10, 15 minutes, maybe even more. He missed nearly the entire first half, but that second half he came back. He looked fine. And, Eddie Lampkin Jr. is going to have his hands full. And what do you think he has to do to kind of counteract Dante's ability?
I think the Buffs need to try and space the floor. The Buffs haven't seen – honestly, this whole tournament hasn't seen that much three-point shooting. So that will be a huge advantage for them, especially because threes were kind of what gave them the edge in Eugene in that second matchup. But as far as what Eddie Lampkin can do, I think he just needs to make quick decisions. I feel like a lot of times he'll I don't know, the ball will get stagnant in his hands and it'll stick a little bit. And with how athletic Dante is at his size, Eddie won't be able to push him around as much. And I think, when the ball is moving, especially in Colorado's offense, and with how good a passer Lampkin is, if he can, kind of be more of a decoy rather than scoring the ball and pull Dante out of the paint, I think that would be really huge for the Buffs. To start scoring on the interior, and then hopefully that opens up the outside.
I like to see Eddie Lampkin get a little physical tonight. I think, we've seen Dante get a little roughed up, the last few games. I think if you see if we can get him in foul trouble early, have him pick up a few, and Lampkin, Lord knows, we'll get into foul troubles at some point in this game, just because that's just how he plays. But if they can get the foul count up on Dante early and see if they can get him out of the game, then that'd be good for the Buffs.
All right, we kind of talked about the defensive needs from the Buffs tonight. Obviously, their hands full. What do they have to do to get that offense going, though? 58 points last night. Not a lot clicking. What do they got to do to get that going?
I feel like I kind of hit it in my last answer, but I feel like they need to space the floor and make sure the ball is moving. I felt like a lot of times the paint was very clogged up, and that it didn't allow for a lot of driving lanes, which then didn't open up the perimeter. Because, in almost every sport, once you get something, that opens up more because the defense has to account for that. And the way Washington State played yesterday, they were really focused on KJ Simpson, especially coming off the pick and roll and making sure he didn't get downhill, driving to the hoop, which really limited that Colorado offense with how good of a playmaker and scorer Simpson is at the rim. And when he's seeing two 7-footers, in the paint every drive, that's going to be tough for him, especially when Dante is probably better than anybody that Washington State had outside of maybe Isaac Jones. And so, I think if they can space the floor and move the ball well, doesn't stick a lot, I think that would be the biggest thing for them. And if they can get Dante out of the paint, as I mentioned earlier, I think that'll also be huge because I know he'll be looking to swat some shots, and maybe even getting him in foul trouble would definitely be big for the Buffs because Arizona definitely was able to build their early lead against the Ducks yesterday with Dante out of the game, dealing with that whatever injury he was dealing with, and then that lead quickly dwindled once he returned. So.
Yeah, I think I'd like to second that. They gotta shoot a three. They gotta shoot a three effectively. They did it atrociously last night. When the Buffs are on from three, they can really drive up that score. But it also kind of feels like they're still playing without Cody Williams. Especially offensively. Maybe defensively he's there, but offensively I think he's got to get going. If you can get one of the best players in the Pac-12, rolling offensively for your team, then it's going to be a good time. So I think they need to hit some threes, get Cody Williams going.
I mean, Cody Williams coming off the bench. I'm probably going to assume the same starting lineup, same situation with Cody Williams coming off the bench. What does the rest of the bench have to do? Because there was no roughing last night. Dak had 6 minutes, and they were pretty effective. He was noticeable making plays. What does the bench have to do tonight to help the Buffs?
I think we'll see a little bit more of Ruffin tonight. He played, I think, in both matchups against Oregon. I remember he hit a big three against Oregon in the second matchup. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more of Ruffin tonight. But also with that, Colorado, as we mentioned, they've been playing shorthanded all year. Their starters have played a lot of minutes, especially KJ Simpson. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the bench play decrease from how little it's been already, unless we see foul trouble or injuries, of course. But because I don't know, I feel like with how talented Dante is and how we've highlighted his size and athleticism, Bangat Dak and Hassan Jazop, they're still freshmen. They still need to fill into their bodies a little bit. And even though, they've made some good defensive plays, gotten some good blocks, especially Dak, these past couple of games, or these past few games, I think Dante's a force to be reckoned with, as I think in his 5th year at Oregon, if I'm not mistaken, either senior or his 5th year. So, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of Colorado starters tonight and not too much from the bench, but, I guess we'll just have to see.
You basically took the words from my mouth. I was going to say, they are big bodies or thin bodies, and Dante is a dense piece of muscle. It's a lot of inertia swinging around in that direction, and when you get a guy like Lampkin in there, he can take some of that. But Eddie Lampkin can't play all day, and we've seen Jope get physical at times, be tough in the paint, but we've also seen him have some massive defensive lapses and playing like a freshman sometimes. It's going to take either Dak or Jope to step up and hold Dante to whatever we can hold him to while Eddie Lampkin catches a breather at some point in this game, because it's going to happen. and they're just going to have to do damage control at that point.
All right. The Buffaloes are favored heading into this game. Last night, earlier this morning, the odds were minus 135 for the Buffaloes to win. Checking right before we started recording, they've increased. Minus 150 heading into tonight's game. What do you guys think about that?
I think the Buffs are going to need to play a little better to earn but they've earned that minus 150 odds. But I don't know if the performance the Buffs put on these last two nights is going to be enough to beat the Oregon team that we've seen play in this tournament so far. That being said, I can be a little homer here. I am still a student at the University of Colorado, and I would ride that.
Yeah, no, I'm a little bit of a homer as well. I think the Buffs do edge out the Ducks, especially after being twice in the regular season. But as we've mentioned in a lot of previews across men's and women's basketball, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times in a row. And Oregon is definitely a good team, as we've seen this tournament and across the season. But, it sounds like a stupid answer, but I really think the biggest thing will just be who can hit shots. And, that's the name of the game. It's basketball. Whoever scores the most points wins. But, in this tournament, no team has really shot the ball that well from beyond the arc. We saw, 7 made threes yesterday in the Colorado-Washington State game. Before that, Oregon and Arizona pretty much both were ice cold. Besides a Shellstad couple of threes and maybe a Cousinard three here. I don't know. Going even further to the first day, it wasn't much better. So I really just think, if whoever can get hot, that will be the difference maker in this game, because we haven't seen a whole lot of offense.
All right, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. T-Mobile Arena right behind us. The number 3 Colorado Buffaloes look to exit the Pac-12 the same way they joined it. Champions. The Ducks are in their way. For Jimmie Searfoss and Oliver Hayes, I'm Jared Miller, and you heard it here first.